Good morning, friends. Hello, hello. How are you this morning? Cattywampus here. Good morning. Good to see you. Hope you're great. There's goodness in your day. Is everybody day? Blessings and upon blessings. It is still a a balmy 66 degrees after it being 40 degrees this morning when we opened up the door. It is spring is maybe sprung, but it is not giving up in terms of our life and warmth. So that 90-degree day we had the other day, that kind of went away. So good morning, everybody. That Good morning, good morning. Hello, hello. How are you today? All right. Let's see what's happening here. All right, friends. Let's get going this morning. It is the second day of June. At this Tuesday at 11:11, we are into a new month and a new week and a new part of the journey. Welcome, welcome, and welcome. Good morning, Donna. Hope you're doing great. Good morning, friends. So, one of my favorite places in the whole wide world is a place called the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum in Boston. And if you don't know the story of the Gardner, it's well worth exploring. And I can't recommend a visit there more. It's an incredible offering. And so Isabella Stewart Gardner was one of these kind of famous late 19th century, mid 19th century kind of Boston Brahmin ladies who had incredibly beautiful educations and incredibly refined tastes and whole buckets of money. And she created what is now known as the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. Now, the museum used to be her home. And she traveled the world, scoured the world for different pieces of art, for different beautiful pieces of art, for anything from the medieval statuary that you might find at the in a cathedral to great ornate and beautiful paintings. You may know the Gardner because there was a famous heist there of some of the more famous and valuable paintings of that were displayed there. And if you go to the Gardner today, you will see empty frames where those paintings and all of the Gardner community waits in anticipation one day for those works to be restored. But the vision of what Isabella Stewart Gardner put together was this incredible home not far from the MFA, the Massachusetts Museum of Fine Arts, that really rivals the MFA in a lot of ways, but in many ways surpasses it. Because what she did is not only have this incredible collection of beautiful art, the Spanish Dancer from John Singer Sargent, these amazing works. But what she did is she placed them in particular places, in particular ways, in conjunction with other pieces of art It's not that you just walk in to see the Spanish dancer picture hanging on this kind of sanitized wall of beige, but that your approach up to it on the left is this beautiful garden, and in front of you are these Moorish this Moorish doorway framed with arches, and that you approach the painting is as much a work of art as the painting itself. The placement of the beauty is as refined and as amazing. And so to go to the gardener is not just to see some beautiful paintings, but to go to the gardener is actually this encounter with Isabella herself. That you walk in and you see this little piece of stone set aside, and you're like, well, why is that there? But what she mandated is that she, having spent her life collecting, traveling the world and collecting all of these pieces of art, and then purposefully and intensely placing them all around her home, creating a chapel in her home, creating these incredible dining spaces, through all of it, that in her will and testament of the creation of what would go from being the Gardner home to the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum, that all of the places and all of the artworks and all of the things should be exactly where she placed them. And that the trust that it continues on does exactly that. Maintains those pieces exactly where they're supposed to be, exactly where she placed them. So to walk through the halls is not just to see beautiful art. It's not just to see beautiful art placed well, but it is actually to enter into the psyche and the ethos and the heart and the being of Isabella Stewart Gardner herself. I know of few other experiences in life where you actually come to journey with the creator of a thing in such a way as you do when you experience the Gardner Museum. Now, why am I telling you all this? Just other than to be a great, tell you should all sell all you own and go visit the Gardner someday. It's an amazing experience. But to say this, to kind of enter into that question of what I just asked, or to enter into the question of the experience of this thing, I'd call this beautiful artwork, which is not just these portraits and not just these statuary and not just these wall hangings, but to enter into this beautiful artwork that is the creation of the museum itself and the placement of every object of art that is in the museum that was created by Isabella Stewart Gardner, and to ask that question as you walk through, well, why is that there and that's there? Why is there this light from the left on the window when we look towards the Spanish cloister in which the portrait, the Spanish dancer, is placed? Why is that there and this there? You start to enter this, and so you start to enter this experience of walking with the Creator. And I love it because in one thing about the Gardner is there's a central courtyard, and in the central courtyard there's always greenery. There's always something verdant. There's always something beautiful, either in bloom. There is an entire greenhouse that is dedicated to supplying flowers and plants for the central courtyard of the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. So, and that even the plants placed there on whatever season were mandated by Isabella. She missed no trick. And so the experience of this entry, the experience of this is to all, as you walk through each of these floors, you're always looking out a window into a garden in the center, no matter what floor you might be on. And it takes me back to this, to our creation story. It takes me back to the first thing in Genesis. That when you walk through the Isabella Stewart Gardner, you are walking with the Creator. Like you're walking through these incredible, beautiful pieces of art placed perfectly together, not and certainly not randomly together. Although sometimes they often feel like it. You can come up a stairway and see at one point some kind of Roman statuary, and then at the other point some 19th century painting. That these things can be wildly out of place in terms of space, in terms of place and time, but not necessarily in terms of ethic or in terms of aesthetic. And so to walk every step of the way in the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum is to walk with the creator, Isabella herself. And if you go there and talk to the docents, the people who run the museum, they will talk about Isabella as if she just walked out to go down the street to get a coffee. Isabella said this, and Isabella is saying this, and Isabella's hand is over here. They speak of her not as if she is dead or not as if she has gone ahead of us about 100 years, but as if she is alive and present in that place, because the hand of the Creator is in that place. And so I give you this whole image because I really do feel like, in some ways, to enter into the Gardner Museum is to enter a little bit the experience of Eden in this world. That's really what she pulled off. It is really a little bit of entering into the walled garden of paradise. Not because it's perfect, and not because everything is right, but because you have this experience, again, of walking with the person who created it. And what, if you read the biblical description of what God and humanity did before the fall, what was the thing that brought God the most pleasure, that brought God the most joy with his created beings, was to walk together in the cool of the morning. They would walk together in the morning. That was God's greatest joy for the creation, was to simply walk with his creation, to walk with us. And so to go to the gardener is, at least for me, is to have that little, not necessarily the foretaste of heaven, but the foretaste of the Eden paradise, of what it all was before it all went off the wheel, before the wheels went off the wagon, what it all was before we knew shame, before we knew guilt, before we knew doubt, before we knew brokenness, before we knew anger, before we knew loss. That there is this magical little way to walk with Isabella is a little bit to touch the Eden story. So, friends, my hope for you is that maybe you'll spend a little time going to the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. If you don't get a chance, you can go to the website. The website's amazing. It has views of all sorts of beautiful things at the museum. But more than anything, whether you go to the garden or you don't, whether you are out there or not, I want to invite you to the wider reality of what all of this is pointing at. That as we walk through our days, wherever we might find ourselves, whether it's at a beautiful museum or whether it's at Market Basket, as we walk through our days, as we move through our world, as we encounter people in the comings and goings of our lives, what we can do maybe is, rather than cut off this that we don't like and welcome in this that we do like, oh, I love that piece, oh, I hate that piece, that maybe rather than to stand in judgment of the creation as it stands in front of us, each artwork as it is, I love that, I hate that, but rather ask the question that is fun to ask when you go to the Gardner Museum, which is simply this: why is that there with this? Why is this piece of art, this piece of beauty, this piece of creation paired up with this piece of creation right now? Why are these two things working themselves out in my life at this particular time? Why instead of immediately leaping into our desire to say this is good, this is bad, I like this, I don't like that, but to simply hold the creation for a moment and understanding that we are made in the image of the Creator, and having being made in the image of the Creator, that makes us creators too, and that when we hold the creation for a second, rather than judge it, rather than cast it into what we say it must be next, it allows. Perhaps we can just for a moment ask the question of, but why is this there? And in doing so, we can see the hand of the Creator itself. We can hear the voice of the Creator on why these things have come to us. Whether we like them, whether we don't, whether they're good or bad, whether they're quality or they're crap, whatever that we might be finding, we can suspend it. And instead, as a creator ourselves, we can simply appreciate the work of the creation. What would every interaction in your life be that rather than saying, oh, I like that, or oh, I don't like that, to be, if we just, or I like this person, or I don't like that person, to simply say, to hold that judgment for a moment and ask, like, why? Why is this person coming at me with that? Why is this event coming at me with that? And then I will bet for you that rather than seeing our own fear and our own doubt and our own things, all those things that we managed to accumulate in the fall, that maybe, just maybe, we might be able to see the original fingerprints of the Creator upon that person or that event or that moment. And we might be able to see the very pattern of creation working itself in our lives, even with the hardest of things, even with the most broken of things, even with the most challenging of things. Friends, I encourage you to go to the Gardener if you get a chance. If you don't, check out the website. If you don't, at least look at your life and wonder about the beauty that is in front of you. And why is it paired with all the other things? Why is it among the dross and the drab and the difficult? Because the hand of the Creator has placed it there. And if we look, and if we wait, and if we wonder, we just might see His hand at work on us too. Peace and grace to you all, my friends, and we'll pick it up tomorrow with another 11:11. Oh, let's just say hi to everybody. Hey, Vicky, good morning to you. Jeannie Limoges, everybody, great to see you. Thank you. Tomorrow is my birthday. I appreciate the birthday wishes. That's very kind. Donna, good to see you. Peace and grace, everybody. We'll pick it up tomorrow with another 11:11.